The courtroom at Miami Federal Court fell into absolute silence when 5 framed photographs were placed on easels facing the jury. Thomas Morrison, 52, smiling with his arm around his wife. Jennifer Morrison, 49, laughing at a family dinner. Emma Morrison, 19, in her college graduation gown. Michael Morrison, 16, holding a soccer trophy. Daniel Morrison, 14, grinning with his first fish. A family, past tense. All 5 were dead now, their bodies recovered from the Atlantic Ocean 12 miles off the Florida coast. Drowned when the yacht they'd purchased 3 weeks earlier broke apart and sank in 4 minutes on what was supposed to be their dream vacation. Across the courtroom sat Christopher Vanderbilt, 43, luxury yacht broker and owner of Prestige Maritime Group. He wore a custom Brioni suit worth $9,200, Hermes loafers at $1,850, and a Richard Mille watch worth $340,000. His perfectly tanned face, his salon-styled hair, his manicured nails, everything about him screamed wealth and success. He examined his phone, occasionally smirking at something on the screen, as if the 5 dead bodies represented by those photographs were merely an inconvenience to his schedule. Behind him sat 9 attorneys from Blackstone Legal Partners, specialists in defending high-net-worth individuals against wrongful death claims. Their lead counsel, Harrison Blackstone, commanded $3,200 per hour and had a reputation for getting wealthy clients acquitted of anything. But they were about to face Judge Frank Caprio, specially assigned to this federal case due to its complexity and public interest. Before we dive into what happened in that courtroom, if you believe in justice and want to support a new channel dedicated to sharing these powerful stories, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. Every subscription helps us bring more of Judge Caprio's wisdom to light. Judge Caprio entered, and everyone rose. At 79, with 37 years on the bench, he'd presided over many wrongful death cases. But the case file before him, case number 2024 FD 3891, had kept him awake for 3 nights. 5 people, 3 children, all dead because of greed. "This court is now in session," he said quietly, his eyes moving from the photographs to Vanderbilt. Case number 2024 FD 3891, the United States versus Christopher Vanderbilt. Mr. Vanderbilt is charged with 5 counts of second-degree murder, fraud, falsification of maritime safety documents, and criminal negligence resulting in death. Harrison Blackstone stood immediately. "Your Honor, my client Christopher Vanderbilt is one of the most successful yacht brokers in South Florida. His company, Prestige Maritime Group, generates $180 million in annual sales. He's sold yachts to celebrities, business executives, and international clients. This prosecution is a tragic overreach. The Morrison family's deaths were a devastating accident, but accidents happen on the ocean. Boating carries inherent risks. The Morrisons signed a comprehensive liability waiver acknowledging these risks. My client cannot be held criminally responsible for an act of God." Judge Caprio's jaw tightened. "Mr. Blackstone, 5 people are dead. The prosecution claims your client knowingly sold them a defective vessel. That's not an act of God. The prosecution will claim many things, Your Honor. We will prove them false." "We'll see," Caprio said coldly. "Ms. Rodriguez, shall I present the government's case?" Federal Prosecutor Maria Rodriguez stood, her expression grim. "Your Honor, on April 3rd of this year, Dr. Thomas Morrison purchased a 45-foot Meridian yacht from Christopher Vanderbilt for $680,000. Dr. Morrison was a successful dentist from Atlanta. He'd worked for 30 years, saved carefully, and finally had enough money to buy his dream boat for his family. Dr. Morrison was excited His wife Jennifer had always wanted to learn sailing. His daughter Emma was about to start medical school. His sons Michael and Daniel loved the ocean. This yacht represented years of dreams and decades of hard work. She pulled out documents. Dr. Morrison did his due diligence. He asked Mr. Vanderbilt if the yacht had any structural issues, any history of problems, any concerns. Mr. Vanderbilt assured him the yacht was in excellent condition. He provided what appeared to be a recent marine survey, a professional inspection report, showing the yacht was seaworthy and safe. Based on these assurances, Dr. Morrison purchased the yacht. On May 18th, the Morrison family took their maiden voyage. It was a beautiful Saturday morning. They were 12 miles offshore when the hull catastrophically failed. The yacht broke apart and sank in 4 minutes. All 5 family members drowned. The courtroom was silent except for muffled sobs from the gallery where extended family members sat. The Coast Guard recovered their bodies over the next 3 days. Dr. Morrison was found still holding his youngest son, Daniel. They drowned together, father clutching his child, as the ocean took them both. Little did anyone know what Vanderbilt had known about that yacht. Your Honor, Maria continued, our investigation revealed that Christopher Vanderbilt knew the yacht was defective. 6 months before he sold it to Dr. Morrison, a previous potential buyer had commissioned an independent marine survey. That survey, conducted by certified marine surveyor Richard Chen, found extensive structural cracks in the hull. Mr. Chen's report stated, and I quote, "This vessel has catastrophic structural defects. The hull shows multiple stress fractures that could result in complete failure. This yacht is unsafe for ocean travel and should not be used until repairs costing approximately $85,000 are completed." Mr. Vanderbilt received this report. He knew the yacht was a death trap, but $85,000 in repairs would eat into his profit margin. So instead of fixing the yacht or disclosing the defects, he did something else. She held up documents. He paid $5,000 to a fraudulent document service to create a fake marine survey report. This fake report, dated 2 weeks before the sale to Dr. Morrison, claimed the yacht was in excellent condition with no structural issues. This is the report he showed Dr. Morrison. The courtroom gasped. Christopher Vanderbilt shifted in his seat, but maintained his bored expression. Mr. Vanderbilt knowingly sold a defective yacht with falsified safety documents to a family. He traded 5 lives for $85,000 in repair costs that would have reduced his commission. If Judge Caprio's compassion moves you like it moves millions of others, show your support by subscribing to our channel. We're just starting out, and your subscription means everything. Mr. Vanderbilt, Judge Caprio said, his voice like ice, did you know about the structural defects before you sold this yacht to the Morrison family? Vanderbilt stood, his expression one of practiced innocence. Your Honor, the yacht business involves multiple inspections and reports. I may have seen a report mentioning minor cosmetic issues, but nothing that suggested any safety concerns. The yacht had been on the market for months with no problems. You may have seen a report? Caprio's voice rose slightly. Mr. Chen's report stated the yacht could catastrophically fail. That's not a minor cosmetic issue. Your Honor, marine surveyors often exaggerate to cover themselves legally. Every surveyor finds something wrong to justify their fees. I've been in this business for 20 years. If I refused to sell every yacht that had a surveyor's concern, I'd never sell anything. Maria Rodriguez stood. Your Honor, we have emails between Mr. Vanderbilt and the fraudulent document service. May I read them? Caprio nodded, his expression darkening. On March 7th, Mr. Vanderbilt wrote to a company called Maritime Documents Plus. I need a clean survey report for a Meridian 45-footer. Previous survey was too negative. Buyer wants to see recent inspection showing no issues. Can you provide? We'll pay $5,000 for rush service. The company responded, we can provide a report showing excellent condition. Send us the yacht details and desired date. Report will be delivered in 48 hours. Mr. Vanderbilt replied, perfect. Make it look professional. Include photos from the yacht listing. Date it March 20th. Buyer is a doctor from out of state. Won't know the difference. The courtroom erupted. Extended Morrison family members were shouting. Vanderbilt's face went red. Order! Caprio banged his gavel. When silence returned, he looked at Vanderbilt with undisguised disgust. You wrote buyer won't know the difference. You specifically targeted Dr. Morrison because he was from out of state and wouldn't verify the documents. That email is taken out of context. What context makes that acceptable? You paid for a fake safety report to sell a death trap to a family. Your Honor, the yacht business is caveat emptor. Buyer beware. Dr. Morrison could have commissioned his own independent survey. He chose not to. That's not my responsibility. You gave him a fraudulent survey report. How was he supposed to know it was fake? Vanderbilt shrugged. He should have verified it. Due diligence is the buyer's responsibility. Robert Morrison, Thomas's brother, lunged from the gallery toward Vanderbilt, screaming, "You murdered them! You murdered my brother and his entire family!" Bailiffs restrained him as the courtroom descended into chaos. Order! Everyone sit down now! Caprio's gavel echoed like gunshots. When silence finally fell, his hands were shaking. Mr. Vanderbilt, 5 people trusted you. You gave them a fake safety report and sent them to their deaths, and you're claiming it's their fault for trusting you? Your Honor, the ocean is inherently dangerous. Boating accidents happen. The Morrisons signed a liability waiver. A liability waiver doesn't protect you from murder. You knowingly sold them a defective yacht. Maria Rodriguez stood again. There's more, Your Honor. We also need to discuss where Mr. Vanderbilt was on May 18th, the day the Morrison family drowned. She pulled out her phone. On May 18th, Christopher Vanderbilt was in Cannes, France, attending the Cannes Film Festival. He was at an exclusive yacht party on a 200-foot mega yacht owned by a Russian oligarch. She displayed Instagram posts on the courtroom screen. At 11:47 a.m. Eastern Time, approximately when the Morrison yacht was sinking and the family was drowning, Mr. Vanderbilt posted this to his Instagram story. The image showed Vanderbilt in white linen, holding a champagne flute, surrounded by models in bikinis on a luxury yacht deck. The caption read, "Living the dream at Cannes. Champagne, sunshine, and beautiful people. This is what success looks like." Yacht life. Cannes Film Festival. Luxury broker. The courtroom fell silent. The contrast was obscene. Vanderbilt celebrating with champagne while 5 people he'd sent to their deaths were drowning in terror 12 miles offshore. At 2:33 p.m. Eastern, approximately when the Coast Guard was recovering the first body, Mr. Vanderbilt posted this. Another image. Vanderbilt and 3 women laughing, caviar and champagne on a table. Caption: Another successful year. $680,000 sale closed last month. Commission well spent. Work hard, play harder. Several people in the gallery were openly weeping. Judge Caprio's face had gone pale. At 6:15 p.m., while Dr. Morrison's body was being identified at the morgue, he posted this. Vanderbilt in a tuxedo at a film premiere party. Caption: Cannes nightlife is unmatched. When you're at the top of your game, every day is a celebration. Your Honor, Maria said, her voice shaking with anger. While the Morrison family was dying because of his fraud, Christopher Vanderbilt was posting champagne photos and bragging about his commission from their death. What the judge discovered next shocked everyone. We also obtained his private text messages, Maria continued. On May 19th, one day after the drowning, Mr. Vanderbilt received a text from an associate. Heard about the yacht that sank off Florida. That wasn't one of yours, was it? Mr. Vanderbilt responded, Yeah, that was the Meridian I sold in April. Whole family died, apparently. Terrible tragedy. But I had them sign all the waivers. My lawyer says I'm covered. Insurance will pay out the estate. Won't affect my business. His associate wrote, Jesus, Chris. 5 people died. Mr. Vanderbilt replied, I know, it sucks. But that's why we have liability waivers. Ocean is dangerous. Not my fault they didn't know how to handle the boat. The courtroom exploded. Multiple people were screaming. Robert Morrison broke free from the bailiff and had to be physically restrained by 3 officers. The judge banged his gavel repeatedly. This court is adjourned for 15 minutes. Everyone calm down or I'll clear the gallery. When court resumed, Judge Caprio's face was a mask of barely controlled rage. Mr. Vanderbilt, you texted that 5 deaths were terrible, but you were covered by waivers. You showed no remorse, no grief, no responsibility, just relief that you wouldn't be liable. Your Honor, that text was a private communication where you admitted you knew they died and your first thought was protecting yourself. Not grief for 5 human beings. Not horror at what happened. Just calculating your legal exposure. I was in shock. You were drinking champagne in Cannes. Maria Rodriguez stood again. Your Honor, we have testimony from Richard Chen, the marine surveyor who conducted the original inspection. Mr. Chen? A man in his 60s stood from the gallery. Your Honor, I'm Richard Chen. I've been a certified marine surveyor for 34 years. In October of last year, I inspected the Meridian yacht at the request of a potential buyer. What I found was one of the most dangerous vessels I've ever surveyed. The hull had multiple stress fractures radiating from the keel. These weren't minor cracks. These were deep structural failures that compromised the integrity of the entire vessel. I told the buyer this yacht should not be in the water until extensive repairs were completed. I estimated $85,000 minimum. The buyer walked away. I sent my report to the yacht's owner and to Prestige Maritime Group, Mr. Vanderbilt's company. I specifically called Mr. Vanderbilt's office and spoke with him directly. I told him this yacht was unsafe and should not be sold without disclosure of the defects. What did Mr. Vanderbilt say? Caprio asked. He told me I was being overly cautious. He said minor hull cracks were normal and didn't affect seaworthiness. He said if he disclosed every minor issue, he'd never sell anything. I warned him that this wasn't minor. This was catastrophic. He thanked me for my concern and hung up. 3 months later, I saw that yacht listed for sale on Prestige Maritime's website. The listing claimed it had been recently surveyed with excellent results. I called Mr. Vanderbilt again. I reminded him of my report. He said he'd obtained a second opinion that disagreed with my findings. When I asked to see that second opinion, he said it was confidential client information. That second opinion was the fake report, Maria interjected. We verified that no legitimate surveyor inspected that yacht after Mr. Chen's report. The only second opinion was the fraudulent document Mr. Vanderbilt purchased. Judge Caprio stood, papers shaking in his hands. Mr. Vanderbilt, a certified marine surveyor with 34 years of experience, told you this yacht would catastrophically fail. You ignored him. You sold it anyway. You falsified documents. And 5 people died exactly the way Mr. Chen predicted. Vanderbilt stood, his composure finally cracking. Your Honor, I run a business. I can't be responsible for every surveyor's opinion. Chen is overcautious. He finds problems with everything. I got a second opinion that said the yacht was fine. You paid $5,000 for a fake report. I got a report that showed the yacht was safe. How was I supposed to know it was wrong? Because you commissioned it from a fraud service. Caprio's voice was shaking. You knew it was fake because you paid to have it faked. Your Honor, Dr. Morrison should have done his own survey. Buyer beware is a fundamental principle. I provided a survey report. Whether he verified it was his responsibility. You provided a fraudulent report specifically designed to deceive him. He signed a waiver acknowledging boating risks. A waiver doesn't protect you from murder. You knowingly sent a family onto a death trap. The prosecutor stood again. Your Honor, there's one more thing. We need to discuss Mr. Vanderbilt's history. This isn't the first time he's sold defective vessels. She pulled out more documents. In 2019, Mr. Vanderbilt sold a yacht that caught fire 2 weeks later due to faulty wiring he'd been informed about. The owner suffered severe burns. Mr. Vanderbilt settled out of court for an undisclosed amount with a non-disclosure agreement. In 2021, he sold a yacht with a defective fuel system that was noted in an inspection report. That yacht exploded at a marina, injuring 3 people. Again, he settled with NDAs. In 2022, he sold a yacht with structural damage that was documented. It took on water and sank, though fortunately no one died. Another settlement, another NDA. Mr. Vanderbilt has a pattern of selling defective yachts, concealing problems, falsifying documents, and then using NDAs and settlements to hide his conduct. The Morrison family is simply the first time people died before he could make the problem disappear with money. Judge Caprio sat down heavily. Mr. Vanderbilt, you've been doing this for years, selling dangerous yachts, hiding defects, paying off victims, and you kept doing it because it was profitable. In my 37 years on this bench, I've seen greed. I've seen negligence. But you didn't just fail to maintain safety. You actively concealed deadly defects and falsified documents. You turned yacht sales into murder for profit. Here is my ruling. The courtroom held its breath. Christopher Vanderbilt, you are found guilty on all counts. 5 counts of second-degree murder. 1 for each member of the Morrison family whose death you caused through your knowing and reckless conduct. You are found guilty of fraud, falsification of maritime safety documents, and criminal negligence resulting in death. You are sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. You will serve this sentence in full. No parole. No early release. Vanderbilt's face went white. His attorneys started objecting, but Caprio's voice cut through. Furthermore, all of your personal assets are hereby seized and liquidated. Your homes, your cars, your boats, your investment accounts, everything. The proceeds will be placed in trusts for the estates of Thomas, Jennifer, Emma, Michael, and Daniel Morrison. Additionally, you are ordered to pay $20 million in compensatory and punitive damages to the Morrison family estates. This will be paid from the sale of your assets and from the assets of Prestige Maritime Group, which will be dissolved and its assets liquidated. Your yacht broker license is permanently revoked. You will never work in maritime sales again. Finally, I am ordering the Federal Maritime Commission to investigate every yacht sale you've made in the past 10 years. Every buyer will be notified. Every yacht will be re-inspected. Any additional defects you concealed will result in additional criminal charges. He leaned forward, his voice hard. You stood in this courtroom and said, "Buyer beware." You said Dr. Morrison should have verified your documents. You said boating is dangerous and accidents happen. You showed no remorse for 5 deaths, just relief that you had liability waivers. Let me tell you about Thomas Morrison. He was a dentist. He worked for 30 years to save enough money for a yacht. He wasn't wealthy like you. He couldn't afford to lose $680,000 on a whim. That money represented decades of hard work. He trusted you because you're supposed to be a professional. He trusted your survey report because you gave it to him as proof the yacht was safe. And you knowingly gave him a fake document and sent him and his entire family to their deaths. His voice rose. Jennifer Morrison was a high school art teacher. Emma Morrison was about to start medical school. Michael Morrison had just made his school's varsity soccer team. Daniel Morrison had never even kissed a girl. They all died together, drowning in terror as the yacht you sold them broke apart beneath them. Dr. Morrison died clutching his youngest son. Can you imagine that? Holding your 14-year-old child as you both drown, knowing you can't save him, knowing you're both going to die? Can you imagine the terror Daniel felt as his father held him and the ocean took them both? You were drinking champagne in Cannes. You were posting Instagram stories about success and luxury. You were celebrating the $680,000 commission you earned from their deaths. The courtroom was silent except for sobbing from the gallery. Money can buy yachts. It can buy champagne in Cannes. It can buy Instagram photos with models and caviar. But it cannot buy your way out of prison when your greed kills 5 people. You said the ocean is dangerous and boating has inherent risks. You're right. But the Morrison family didn't die from inherent risks. They died because you sold them a death trap and falsified the documents to hide it. Justice cannot have 2 standards, one for luxury yacht brokers and one for families who trust them. The courtroom is the great equalizer, Mr. Vanderbilt. And today, you learned that 5 lives matter more than your commission. The courtroom erupted in applause. Robert Morrison collapsed in his seat, crying. Extended family members held each other. Even some members of the prosecution team were wiping away tears. Christopher Vanderbilt sat motionless, his empire destroyed, his freedom gone for 40 years. If this story touched your heart, if you believe judges like Frank Caprio represent the best of our justice system, please support our new channel by subscribing and liking this video. Share it with someone who needs to hear that justice and compassion can coexist. Comment below with your city. Let's build a community that believes in fairness for all. Christopher Vanderbilt is currently serving his 40-year sentence at Coleman Federal Prison in Florida. His assets were liquidated, totaling $32 million after the sale of his properties, vehicles, and business interests. All proceeds went to the Morrison family trusts. Prestige Maritime Group was permanently closed. The Federal Maritime Commission investigation uncovered 47 additional instances of defects that Vanderbilt had concealed or inadequately disclosed. 15 civil lawsuits were filed, all settled. The Morrison family is gone. Thomas, Jennifer, Emma, Michael, and Daniel are buried together in a family plot in Atlanta. Their extended family visits every week, bringing flowers, telling them they're missed, that they're loved, that justice was finally served. The case led to the Morrison Family Maritime Safety Act. federal legislation requiring independent verification of all marine survey reports, criminal penalties for falsified maritime documents, and mandatory disclosure of all known defects in yacht sales. The law passed unanimously. Judge Caprio, when asked about the harsh sentence, said simply, "Compassion isn't an exception to justice. It's the purpose. But compassion for victims requires accountability for those who murder them for profit." Mr. Vanderbilt chose money over lives. 40 years in prison is what that choice costs. The Morrison family will never take another vacation together. Will never celebrate another holiday. Will never see Emma become a doctor, Michael graduate high school, Daniel grow up. All because a yacht broker wanted to save $85,000 in repairs so he could maximize his commission and buy champagne in Cannes. But their story did something powerful. It exposed how greed can corrupt even industries built on trust and safety. It showed that falsifying safety documents is murder. It proved that posting champagne photos while your victims drown doesn't protect you from justice. Christopher Vanderbilt thought he was untouchable, thought his wealth and liability waivers made him immune, thought buyer beware excused selling death traps. He was wrong, and the Morrison family, Thomas, Jennifer, Emma, Michael, and Daniel, now together forever in ways they never imagined, stands as proof that sometimes the courtroom really is the great equalizer. Sometimes justice wins. Sometimes the people we think are too small to matter become impossible to ignore. Not because they were powerful, but because they were murdered. And that mattered enough.